Alright guys, went back today with another LPVO offering from Monstrum Tactical, the brand new Spectre 1:8 second focal plane. This one is a pretty awesome optic because it pushes the limits of what can be done in a high value setup, because the price of this guy is sub $250. But for the initial release, and specifically for my viewers, Monstrum Tactical created a code for 25% off, dropping the price down to about $180 with free shipping options, saving you a ton of money. Not only that, inside the box it includes an offset mount, and it mounts right up to the top of your flat top AR or similar platform. Now, you'll want to stay tuned for the full review, because like anything, there is going to be pluses and minuses with something that costs sub $250. But what these guys have done have really pushed the limits of what is possible in a 1:8 second focal plane optic with this many specs and features, and it really does blow me away, especially for the price. Before we get too far into it, I want to give a huge shout out to Callaway Ballistics for sponsoring the ammo to help make this video. These guys send over the 223, and it's been running great in every platform I've tried, especially Bear Creek Arsenal 18-inch stainless steel 223 Wild barrels. I'm easily getting under 1-inch groups with this stuff out of those upper assemblies. I also have the code 704 Tactical for 5% off your Bear Creek Arsenal order, and 704 Tactical for free shipping on ammo orders over $200. Definitely check those guys out. Now this mates up perfectly, like I said, with the flat top AR, and there are so many high value options right now for the AR-15. This is actually a Palmetto State Armory complete rifle from them that generally sells sub $500. If you head over to my campsite page, you'll be able to find more information about this setup. And like I talked about earlier, Bear Creek has some really nice precision upper assemblies. So when you're spending about $500 on an AR, you don't necessarily want to spend $500 or $600 in optic. That's where something like this comes in. A great solution for anywhere from CQB shooting with this LPVO all the way out to 500 and 600 yards. If your rifle is capable of hitting that, this optic is going to be good. Now this one actually comes in at a 34mm tube diameter, which is interesting. This is a shift from what Monstrum Tactical has done, and I also believe that's why this optic is so nice. With that 34mm tube diameter, it allows more light transmission, more adjustments up and down, and a larger tube diameter to fit lens systems in to make the proper eye relief as well as edge clarity that you would need for a 1:8 without breaking the bank. So they really are improving that, where a lot of other 1:8s are still running that 30mm tube. Monstrum Tactical has really stepped it up to that 34mm tube for, again, those added benefits. And you don't have to worry about sourcing a 34mm mount because it comes in the box. The mount up was rock solid. It's sighted in very nicely. No issues with zero shift or anything like that. And again, these mounts aren't the best in the world, but we are talking about an included mount inside the box. You'll see a slight gap on both sides, but honestly that doesn't affect performance, and I've used these very similar mounts on a ton of other platforms, and they're still holding zero. They haven't broken, they haven't walked loose, so no issues with the mount whatsoever. It also includes flip-up lens caps inside the box, which has become pretty much an industry standard, but it is nice that they included them, and they work out well. Now, for the general specs and features of this optic, we've already talked about the fact that this is a 34mm tube. It comes with this matte finish, and it has an illuminated reticle system. Now, the illumination doesn't necessarily get like super daytime bright, but for dusk or twilight shooting for hunting applications or CQB shooting inside your house at the 1 power setting, it gets plenty bright. So it's a very usable illumination for most of the time that you would actually need that style illumination. The reticle itself can actually be seen in detail on their website, and it really describes exactly all of the specs and features of it. You can see it a little bit in the intro, but I would highly recommend you check out all the linking in the description below for those codes, and directly linked over there so you can find out a little bit more about that specific reticle, allowing you to get a better understanding of all the bullet drop compensation, leader lines, and things like that. Now, this is not specific to a certain caliber, so that's cool as well. If you had a 300 blackout, a 7.62 by 39, or a 6.5 Grendel, this would work. The turrets on this guy are very nice. They're actually locking turrets, and they're solid turrets. They also have a very a very tactile detent feel, and they're slightly audible, but you can definitely lock them back into place. And what Monstrum Tactical has done with their Spectre lineup, they've got very premium turrets on there. I've reviewed some other optics that are well over this price, and they don't compare anywhere near to these turrets. So you can see things start to add up. You've got your 34mm tube, you've got your illumination, your reticle with a lot of information in it, and your locking turrets. And it also has the zoom lever built into the adjustment knob itself. So it's very fluid, it's very smooth, it's very easy to use, but it's not overly light. Like if you're not gonna accidentally bump it and move it around, so that works out great. Now, because this is a second focal plane scope, the markings on the reticle itself are only accurate at the 8 power setting, or you can do the math to the 4 power setting and do about the 50% ratio depending on what type of round you're using. So that's something to consider. It does have an adjustable diopter underneath this lens cap, and you will need to adjust that for that perfect 1x focus. When we're talking about a 1 to 8, it's always very difficult to get a 1 power setting that's truly 1 power, meaning when you open both eyes, it kind of looks like you're looking through a red dot. Well, this one actually nails that, which is very good for a 1 to 8. So it nails the 1 power setting, but then you can adjust the diopter. If you're shooting at the 8 power setting at like 200-300 yards, you can adjust again that focus in the back right there. So that is something to consider. There may be some minor adjustments, but kind of putting it at that midpoint, setting it right around the 4 power setting to where it's perfect at 100 yards, you can kind of set it and forget it. Zoom into the 1 power setting, you really get a true 1 power setting. You can take your shots CQB, flip it over to the 8, and take your shots. I really like this setup too, because at that 1 power setting, you get a very large field of view, so you can scan across a field. And while you're scanning across that field, you can track game across a field for different hunting applications. And in fact, the field of view at the 1 power setting at 100 yards is 121 feet, so a very wide field of view to track game. Then you can zoom in and take your shots accordingly at the 8 power setting. The glass on this is very clear. It's got really nice light transmission, and the glass and edge clarity around the rim is good as well. So no complaints there. Now, have I seen better LPVOs? Well, yes, I reviewed $2,000 LPVOs on this channel, and I would much rather have one of those than this. But I haven't found anything like in the 1 to 8 category with incredibly nice turrets, illumination, the zoom lever built in, 34mm tubes, that is anywhere near this price. They generally, for these specs and features, are starting around $300 or $400. So to see this come in right around that kind of $240 price point and then down to $180 after my code, that is where this thing just blows me out of the water. There's not a lot that can compete with this at this price. So if you're interested in a 1 to 8 second focal plane LPVO, you definitely need to at least check this out. Again, head over to those links, check them out, see what that reticle is all about, see if it interests you, because this is a solid option. But unfortunately, that code will not last forever. They generally last a month or two after I release the video, and then they go to normal price with occasional sales. Monstrum Tactical does have a Friday sales page that I'm constantly getting updates on. All of that information will be in the description below, as well as closeout section to save yourself some money on some previous iterations of different models, open box items, things like that. So you'll definitely want to check that out. But all the information will be in the campsite page and the code in the description below. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.